Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of our Telecaster build. We're going to be talking about relicking the parts for this build. Now we showed you the MJT body and the Fender neck in part 1. We talked about kind of the goals of the project. This is all about prepping for putting the guitar together. So for those waiting to see this guitar come together, we're not quite going to get there yet. We're just prepping more of the parts. We're going to be relicking all the hardware. And I'll show you a shot here of just kind of the hardware laid out on these trays. We're going to go through the relic process here on this video, show you a little bit about that process. And then we're going to talk just a little bit more about kind of getting everything together and kind of get into the nitty gritty of the Relic Technique, because we obviously have a beat up Tele body. So we're going to want to match the parts to that. So Marco, I guess we can start this process of kind of, before we kind of maybe show the up close shots of some of the Relic stuff that we're doing, maybe talk about kind of the Relic Technique. And this is something we do actually on our humbuckers and our other hardware, things like that. So maybe talk about the technique that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Not very scientific, but really cool results.
Yeah, and so I don't know how many of you are still longtime viewers of the channel, but there's a long-time video of you relicking the humbucker cover.
That's right.
And it is all, kind of based on that technique. And then, one of the fun things about the relicking, and if you're putting together a parts caster, is you get to, put your own custom touch on it all. So it is all like very bespoke based on what method you choose to use. And so we kind of use a combination of just kind of buffing out the shiny bits, taking the shine off of it, and then kind of we treat it with some ferric chloride, but make sure you use your gloves and everything.
The old bottle of Radio Shack circuit board etching solution that I have had since Porter pickups started, probably.
It's older than I am, probably. So.
It might be older than you. It's been around. I mean, Radio Shack has been officially gone for how long? I mean, this thing is like, worth money, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're going to use that solution.
So it's the heritage solution.
Exactly.
And
the recipe. I think when I lived in Memphis, they had the grease for one of the fryers that Elvis ate out of the grease. So it's kind of the same thing, right? It's just the
magic
basically
stuff.
the magic stuff that's been around. And when this bottle runs out, we're not going to be able to do this as well as we used to.
We'll have to adapt. But there's lots of different ways and all sorts of fun chemicals you can use. And this one is one of the more corrosive ones, I think. So we definitely take precaution.
Yes. So and a lot of times with this technique is, if you leave the solution on longer, it will eat away at the nickel. And we mentioned in our first video that it needs to be nickel hardware. If you try to relic with this technique on chrome hardware, it's not going to look good.
Yeah, it has a different sort of look.
It just doesn't eat away at it. Like, it's very safe stuff to use, obviously, but doesn't eat away at the process. But we're excited to kind of show you this. So we're going to flip the camera over so we can show you kind of up close of our parts trays and a little bit of relic talk while we go through the relic process. Here we go.
Perfect.
All right, we are over here at the bench with Marco's got the lovely gloves on to be safe with the circuit etching solution. Disclaimer: don't use it on bare skin. Make sure that you wear proper materials to do this. Marco, so I'm going to turn this over to you and maybe just talk about some of your techniques with the individual pieces. I know that as you do tuners, it's a little different than maybe a control plate or things like that. So let's kind of have you walk us through some of this cool top secret technique
stuff. Just it's all techniques kind of stuff, but obviously with the tuners, you don't want to get any of this corrosive gunk up in the gear so that they don't stay in tune or have issues tuning. So it really is just kind of maybe kissing the tops a little bit and the button itself.
Sure. And we're going for like stuff that's actually showing, right? So in the case of like the control plate, we can just do the top of that.
Yeah, we can do one side.
And the screws, we can do just the screws there. I mean, we're not going to go super authentic or whatever you want to call it and go like every thread of, exactly.
And you see some like that and you're like, wow, that's cool, the attention to detail. But and I personally don't like feeling like crusty tuning keys,
right? So
I just take some of the shininess off with these like abrasive sponge kind of pads, and I'm not even sure what they're called, but the nickel will kind of develop its own patina, and it'll just I don't know, we'll even just hold up a shiny one and a non-shiny one. But this will help that solution kind of take a little bit better, and then it's it'll really eat away, like Brian said. So you want to just kind of wipe it on and then kind of wipe it off and see how it looks.
Yeah.
And then if you like it again, you can do a different layer. But I'm going to hold these up to the camera. I don't know if you can see. One's like slightly shinier than the
Yeah,
other.
looks like it's showing up there.
But and
so
then,
the key is just to go fast on the surfaces that you really want to.
Yeah. And a lot of this other stuff, it's like the shininess, and I think a lot of places like put some plating on there, so this will just kind of help that stuff soak through.
Definitely.
Just kind of want to buff it out, but.
And this is kind of this paper stuff you're using is kind of I would say it's equivalent to maybe like a 600 grit or an 800 grit in terms of sanding it, and it kind of gets you the result that you want faster, as opposed to beating it up with a various amount of grits. And this is one way of a million ways to do this. Like even when we made our Relic video, people are like, "Whoa, that's not the right way to do it." And the point is that this is one way to do it, and I think that there's no right or wrong, right?
Yeah, this is just what we have and what we found works best for us. I know that places like will buff off the coating. I like this stuff because if you have an Fellow grease, you can kind of make it like a faux buff finish.
Definitely.
It looks like it's been buffed back to a shine kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna just kind of hit some of these parts real quick just so you can kind of see the effect of this solution here.
So having that higher grit then makes it not as many just straight up scratches. It does, like you were saying, it does take off kind of the shine of the nickel plating, and we mentioned again, this nickel is this coating that's going to react to this solution that we're using here. And you can see the ratty looking bottle over here of Radio Shack solution.
And then I'm just going to get another little cloth. I like to do the old,
Yeah, so you've got my help this time, but another thing to remember as you start opening up the solution is make sure you have your bench completely prepped with all of your Relic parts and your sandpaper, so you're not having to get up and walk across the room to Relic.
Knock stuff over. See, now so I did the thing where I folded up the towel and then I just kind of dabbed the top of the bottle there, and see, you can just I'm going to wipe it on and then just kind of wipe it off, because this stuff will get with it.
So when you're wiping it off, you're just kind of using the same side or using a dry side?
I use a dry side of the towel. Yeah, that's a good thing to point out.
So that's great. I mean, you can see, we'll hold this up at the camera, but you can see the Relicking looking super good already. Yeah. And obviously if you're, we're trying to replicate something like, Sweaty Player playing over 50 years here. So we're not shooting for anything really scientific. We're just trying to take the shine off.
Yeah.
So let's hold that up in comparison to, so you can see now the aging is looking really nice, and that's literally just wiping on. There was no, super high technique. Here's just for reference the neck plate that has not been touched yet, so you can see how much of a change that is just in a quick, literally 10 seconds.
Just a couple passes, and then you can just, for these tiny little nooks and crannies, so we like the Q-tip, and then you can just kind of like get some in there.
Do you recommend like the Q-tip on the tuning heads and stuff like that, just to kind of get in there?
It's a lot easier to control where it's going with just a Q-tip, and you can saturate it as much or as little as you want and get the desired effect. If you brush on a little of this stuff, it really can just kind of look like slightly bronzed. It's really kind of cool. But you do want to wipe the residue off, because this stuff isn't great. Again, great on bare skin.
Right?
So.
Yeah.
And it'll keep going.
And one thing to mention too is this stuff, the circuit board Etchant solution, it's not advised to do it on a built-out guitar, meaning that if you got any of this down inside your pickups, it would eat the coating on the wire and short circuit your pickups.
Does not play well with pickups.
If you're not sure about doing this technique, don't do it. Don't try it. It's nothing super scary, but it's something, just again, we keep saying, kind of keep an eye on that process, make sure that you're happy with that. And we've got everything out here. So we've got the ferrules, we've got the neck screws, we've got the jack plate. We took apart, so we're using a Clusen bridge with compensated saddles. So we actually can't relic the brass that we have on the saddles here, but everything else we'll be relicking, the screws and the springs, the individual tuners, the tops of them. We also have the bushings that we did check the fit, so I'll show you as we check the fit for the bushings on the top of the Tele here. Fits great. We're gonna have to press that down, which I'm not gonna do yet because we're gonna relic actually the tops of those bushings as well, which will make everything look nice and rusty. And then we also got these string trees as well, kind of the offset style string trees. So we'll be relicking those as well as the mounting screws. One thing I want to mention too is, since you can see we have 2 trays for the parts, make sure you're laying these out in a place that you can't lose them. Each little screws, especially these style tuners with the really small screws that are in there, just the tiny little guys. Make sure that you have a place for all those parts. Some people will get those magnetic trays to kind of keep them all together. I like to put the tuner parts over here and then the body mounting screws over here. So kind of doing that. And one thing we don't have pictured is the pickguard mounting screws, but those are standard nickel screws that we will relic as well. So each of the screws will be relicked, and then the screws that mount into the control plate as well. So remember, wipe on, wipe off is like the biggest technique. Yeah, check that out. That's the neck plate.
Yeah, so this is the shiny one. It was shiny at the beginning here.
Look how great that looks. Well, we're gonna rip through the rest of this hardware, and we will be back to kind of close out the video. All right, so that was a little action of Relic, and obviously we weren't gonna sit there and show you relicking every last part, but we're talking through some of the key parts of the Relic, you know, with the tuners here and the hardware, the bridge. We actually disassembled the bridge, as you could see on the video there, trying to get as crusty as we can in every crevice possible, and go from there and make it as good as possible. So now that we got everything Relic, typically we'll let this sit for maybe a day or two. I don't know typically how long you let it sit. Our pickups we actually throw in the wax, and it sets them. I don't think we're gonna wax these parts. We could maybe, depending on how they look. We'll decide on that, and maybe in part 3 you'll find out what we did there. But part 3 is really where we're gonna start putting things together. We're drilling holes, we're going to be mounting the neck to the body, kind of all that stuff, and then begin to start talking about pickups, and we'll tackle that ground wire situation as we talked about in part 1 as well. So thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more of this video series, more tech videos, product demos, and us yahoos talking about all sorts of good stuff. So we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, catch you guys on the next one.